Scream 7 has officially dropped in theaters, so today I'm going to stop and rank all 7 Scream movies from worst to the best. Obviously, full spoilers ahead for Scream 7. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it, come back, watch this video. If you go any further, you've been warned, so if you get spoiled for Scream 7, that's your own fault. Last on the list is obviously Scream 4. I mean, it is by far the worst movie in the franchise. I think Mindy said it best in Scream 5.
My mom's character in
No one cares about the shitty, inferior sequels.
There's so many problems with Scream 4. I mean, one thing, the intro just goes on for way too long. Like, it takes up like a third of the runtime of the movie just with the opening of it. Like, it's just one thing after another, and it just keeps going for far too long. And that's like a major problem with the movie, and it just goes way too meta, pushes even further with, the meta than Scream 3 did. Like, it's a stab movie inside of a stab movie inside of a Scream movie. Just way too meta, goes way too far with it, did not work at all. And also, the killers in Scream 4 are the least memorable killers in the entire franchise, aside from maybe Scream 7, because I literally just watched the movie and I don't even know what their names were. But with Scream 4, I watched the movie a week ago. I rewatched it a week ago. I already forgot the killers' names. Like, I already don't remember what their names are. And the motivation behind why they're doing it is like the worst motivation in the entire franchise. Like, she's only doing it because she wants to be famous like Sidney. Like, she wants to be Sidney, so she orchestrates a whole bunch of murders and just kills all of her friends just so she can be Sidney. And like, she even kills her own mom. And it's just such a stupid motivation. Like, Jill, that's her name. Look, I just remembered it. Is by far the worst killer in the franchise. And Macaulay Culkin's other brother isn't much better. So, yeah, I mean, Scream 4 is by far the worst movie in the franchise. And I mean, Scream 6 even makes it worse by showing that it's so bad, not even the writers remember what they did in the movie, by just, like, completely retconning Kirby's death in the movie and saying that she just went away with a small scar on her stomach and that's it. So, yeah, Scream 4, by far the worst. Next up on the list is Scream 3. And, Scream 3 isn't terrible. It's leagues above Scream 4. Like, there's a large gap between Scream 4 and Scream 3. Right? Scream 3 has far less problems than Scream 4 does. Far more memorable. Like, Roman's a very memorable killer. One of the best the franchise has had. He's up there with Stu and Billy. Like, he's a very good killer. Very memorable. And it's impressive that he managed to pull it all off by himself. But I think the whole Hollywood setting and the making a stab movie during a Scream movie just didn't really work, and it got a little too meta, which the Scream franchise has always been kind of meta, but I think Scream 3 got a little too meta. And I think that's also kind of part of the problem with 4, is that, like, Scream 3 kind of started going a little too meta, and then 4 just kind of went way too far with it, and just kind of pushed further than Scream 3 did. And obviously, they did find a way to bring Randy back in Scream 3. It was a very clever way to do it. Very in character for Randy to plan for his own demise and pre-record a video to help Sidney in case he wasn't around when she encountered it. Something like the first 2 Screams. Again, the The cop guy is a nice, like the new cop from L.A. is a nice addition to the cast, but I don't think any of the other new members of the cast are really good. Like most of them are kind of annoying, and they just don't really add anything to the movie. So Scream 3 is towards the bottom of the list. Next on the list is Scream 6. Now, this one and the next two ones on the list could switch around depending on the day. They're all fairly even in my mind. They all have equally as many problems, and equally as many things that I don't like about them. But I do think that all three of these ones are of like this one and the next two, and obviously all the one and the two above it. I think all of them are good films. All five of the next ones on the list are good films. I think they're all very good, very rewatchable. I really all of the Scream films are except for 4. That's the only one that like really gets worse on rewatch. Yeah, Scream 6. New York. What was an interesting new setting to see Ghostface in New York. Seeing him wield a shotgun was pretty fun. Three Killers was an interesting twist. They've never done it before. And it was an interesting twist seeing three killers, but it was very much kind of a rehash of the second one, just in New York, and without a Mickey, kind of, and motivation, grieving family wanting to get revenge for their son and brother being killed in the previous movie. Something we saw before in Scream 2. There's nothing new. And Sidney being absent didn't really help the movie. If I have to pick between Billy's daughter or Sidney, I'm going to choose Sidney. She is the lead of the franchise, always has been, and should remain the lead. If you want to introduce new people to kind of co-lead with Sidney, that's fine, but I think Sidney should be the lead of the franchise, and I do prefer her over Billy's daughter. And I know there is obviously some controversy around her being fired and then Jenna Ortega quitting and all that. But, I mean, if her being fired means we get Sidney back, then, I mean, I'm fine with it. I don't think she should have been fired for the reason she was fired. But it means that we got Sidney back with Scream 7, and if they do any more, we'll get Sidney again. So I'm relatively okay with it. But, as a whole, it's really just my biggest problem with the movie is just no Sidney. Scream needs to have Sidney. Like, I mean, even the Wayans brothers are making fun of her not being in Scream 6 and Scary Movie 6. So, I mean, you can't really have Scream without Sidney. So that's why, for right now, 6 is at this spot on the list. Next on the list is Scream 7. Obviously, you already had spoiler warning earlier in the video, but if you're still here and you haven't seen Scream 7, stop watching now, because I'm going to be spoiling the movie right now. But yeah, Scream 7 is kind of similar to 4 in the fact that the killer's motivation is kind of dumb, and the killers themselves aren't very memorable. But I think the plot as a whole works far better in Scream 7 than Scream 4's did, because it's not trying to copy the original and, like, outdo it and, like, failing. it's not trying to be the original. It's trying to be something new, something a little different. It's going back to basics with Sydney again, and then they go back to the Mocker House, burn it down. Um, and like one of my biggest problems is the whole movie was marketed around Stu coming back. You know, Stu's back. He's Ghostface again, and then they reveal, you know, bait and switch. Whole movie making you think Stu didn't die. He is alive. He's very much okay. He did survive the events of Scream 1, and now he's back with a vengeance, wants to kill Sydney, make her suffer. And then they bait and switch. It's not Stu. It hasn't been at all. He is dead, and they just did an AI thing and essentially called the audience idiots, and said that, you know, we were stupid to think that Stu was back and that Stu was alive, because, you know, Stu's dead. That would be stupid. You know, why did you think it was Stu? So I didn't really like that. And I mean, the motivation of the killers was that the main one read Sydney's book, and it inspired her to murder her husband, who was abusive to her. And then Sydney decided to, you know, spend time with her family and stop fighting Ghostface. So she wasn't present for Scream 6. So the lady didn't like that, and she went crazy and decided that the best way to solve her problems was to kill Sydney. Slightly better motivation than Scream 4, but not much better. And I don't know either of the killers' names. I'm honestly not even sure if they said the killers' names. And technically, there are 3 killers again, but the first one dies really early on, so it kind of counts. The cameos, you know, the AI cameos from Mrs. Loomis and Dewey and Roman were fun, and Matthew Lillard did a great job. You know, he still has it. You know, he fell right back into the role of Stu. Did a great job. And for majority of the movie, where it was Matthew Lillard, I think it was really great. It really just kind of fell apart at the ending, where the killers were revealed to not be Stu and to just be AI. I think if they just went with Stu being back and not being dead, it would have been far better. Third place is Scream 2. It's not a bad movie. It's a great follow up to the original. It did a good job. Mrs. Loomis was a great Ghostface. She had great motivation for why she did what she did. I think Mickey is really the biggest thing that lets the movie down, because he's only in like a few scenes at like the beginning of the movie, and then he just kind of disappears halfway through. So when they reveal at the end that he was one of the 2 ghost faces, it just felt kind of anticlimactic, because it was just kind of like, who? So, oh, yeah, that guy from the beginning of the movie who was barely in the movie. Yeah, okay, he was Ghostface. Okay. So, I mean, I really think Mickey's just kind of the biggest problem with the film. And, I mean, his motivation is just he wants to be famous like Billy and Stu. So he decides to try to kill Sydney so he can get famous. Not a particularly great motivation, which is the biggest problem with a lot of the movies, is the killer just had terrible motivations for why they, you know, wanted to do what they did. I think Mickey's is the best of the bad motivations, but it's still not great, and his reveal just felt very anticlimactic, and it just didn't really mean anything because he was barely even in the movie. So him being revealed to be Ghostface kind of fell flat, didn't do anything, and kind of hurt the movie in the long run. I think if it had have been someone who had more screen time, or if maybe they just gave Mickey more to do in the film and had him show up more throughout the film and not just have like 5 scenes, here and there and had him be more present in the film like Billy and Stu were, or like Mrs. Loomis was, it would have been far better and would have helped the film a lot. Um, I think they did Randy's death very good. It was they handled that well. Him mocking Billy on the phone to Mrs. Loomis, and then her getting angry and killing him. That was a good way to handle that. But yeah, really, the just biggest problem with Scream 2 is just Mickey. In second place is Scream 5. It's a great legacy sequel. They did the legacy sequel really well. I think Mindy works as a great replacement for Randy. She's a great new Randy. The original trilogy of Scream movies had Randy to explain the rules and to explain how to survive, what the rules were, how the rules change, depending on if it's just a normal slasher or it's a sequel or a trilogy. And then I think Mindy was a great way to replace Randy and have fill that role. And it worked far better than Scream 4's attempt to fill Randy's role. I think both of the Randy replacements sucked in Scream 4. And I mean, one of them was Ghostface, so that wasn't a great plan either. I think that the two Ghostface in 5 are definitely the best Ghostfaces of the Legacy sequel trilogy. And their motivation makes the most sense for a Ghostface. I mean, the motivation in 6 definitely does make sense, but it's kind of a reheated Scream 2, just kind of a rehash of something we've already seen. Same motivation, same sort of reasoning for wanting to be Ghostface, similar setting, the college campus, same sort of thing with parent of the Ghostface in the previous movie, and then roommates / friends. Yeah, I think Scream 5 works better than any of the other sequels. It redoes the original, but it does it well. It has good, new, interesting killers. I didn't particularly like Dewey's death. I don't think they should have killed Dewey. I think keeping him around, I think killing him off was a bad idea. But that's really my only problem with the movie. It works on pretty much every other level. They found a way to introduce new characters while also still bringing in Sidney and Gale and having them have a role, just not as large of a role to kind of introduce new legacy characters. But I don't think that replacing Sidney as a lead was the best idea. And that Scream 5 eventually led to them pivoting in the wrong direction with Scream 6, which there were also other problems with that, like them not wanting to pay Neve Campbell enough to come back as Sidney. But I think introducing a new lead as like Billy's daughter was a good idea, and it adds a new element to it where you have sort of a Dexter sort of situation where you have someone with these dark tendencies who does have a murderous instinct and does want to kill, but only chooses to do it on people who are also killers and to kind of protect people and prevent ghost faces from attacking. 5 is definitely the best of the sequels, which is why it comes in second place. Obviously, number 1, the original. You can't beat the original. It's almost always going to be the best in any franchise. You can't beat the original. Scream did it first, right? They did it first, and they did it best. All the other sequels were trying to copy the same format as the original because the original did a great job. It was popular and successful for a reason. It's a great slasher film. It, lays out the rules of surviving a slasher movie, flips them on its head, and reverses the formula to where the people that survive the movie are the ones that break the rules, and makes it where the rules kind of go out the window. And obviously, Billy and Stu are the best killers in the franchise. You can't top them. They were the originals. They did it first. And they did it best. They had great motivations. Billy wanted to kill Sidney because he blamed Sidney's mother for his mom leaving, which, given that Billy is crazy and messed up in the head, that seems like a very reasonable thing for him to want to do, and is great motivation, very understandable for why he would want to do that. And then Stu is crazy and was bored, so he wanted to be Ghostface and help Billy kill people for fun. Great motivation. They're crazy. Billy wanted revenge for his mom leaving, so he killed Sidney's mother and then tried to kill Sidney and pin it all on her dad. He had, great plan, great motivation. Him and Stu did it first, did it best, and obviously introduced one of, if not the best, final girl in, horror movie history with Sidney. And Scream led to a bunch of other slasher movies coming on in the future, and also is what gave us the first Scary Movie, and is also what is leading into now the 6th Scary Movie, once again parrying Scream, because it is a very influential franchise, very big, and very good. So for that reason, Scream 1 comes in at number 1. Feel free to share your ranking of the Scream movies down below in the comments. Obviously, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. It really helps me out. Please also subscribe to the channel, hype the video, do all that stuff to help with the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.